After more than 48 hours in frigid temperatures and pitch black nights.
We have no heat. We have no cooking facilities. We have none of that.
How are you getting by?
Barely.
This morning, more than 30,000 North Carolina residents are bracing for their third straight day in the dark after officials say at least one gunman broke into a pair of power substations Saturday night and opened fire, causing extensive damage and a widespread blackout.
What happened here Saturday night was a criminal attack, and federal, state, and local law enforcement are actively working to bring those responsible to justice.
Officials say so far, no motive and no suspects, but they've not ruled anything out.
Are you possibly looking for somebody who was an employee?
We're looking at all aspects of it. This was not no random act. This was something targeted.
This morning, Duke Energy, which runs the substation, says they will take a closer look at security measures after the breach, but would not say whether surveillance cameras may have captured those responsible.
How were they able to access these areas so easily?
Well, we maintain hundreds of thousands of miles of overhead lines, equipment that's all around. It's impossible to protect everything from any type of interaction. We have robust security measures.
This morning, the county remains under a state of emergency with a 9 p.m. curfew in place until power is restored. The Red Cross has opened a...
Wait, hold on. Let me make sure this motherfucking mic, because I be tripping sometime, man. That motherfucking mic don't even be on. I'm not finna do this shit over. Mic check. Cool, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. I ain't finna be doing this whole live stream over because I ain't cut on the fucking mic.
24-hour shelter for those struggling to stay warm. And with the majority of impacted customers likely to remain in the dark until Thursday, this grocery store, one of the few with power, is a rare refuge.
It's cold, and I come over here a couple of times a day to get some hot food.
Just to get warm?
Yeah.
It just doesn't affect one person. It affects a whole community, literally.
And the sheriff tells me that one of his biggest concerns in all of this is traffic accidents. He says there have already been a number of accidents, people driving through town who may or may not realize that the power is even out and kind of speeding through those intersections. He says that's why this curfew is so crucial. Hoda, that curfew goes into effect again at 9 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. All right, Blaine Alexander for us there in North Carolina. Blaine, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/.
Yeah.
I'll show you the area. We'll get a much better look at him.
Oh, fuck. Trying to multitask, see? Trying to motherfucking multitask.
The lights are back on tonight in North Carolina after attacks on two substations cut power to tens of thousands this week. Tonight we've learned substations in Washington and Oregon have also been attacked in recent weeks, and now the FBI is involved. Glad to have you with us. I'm Greg Toplan.
I'm Joyce Taylor. King 5's Maddie White joins us now from the newsroom. So, Maddie, you've been digging into the threat to the power grid here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, just trying to understand what the risk is to Washingtonians. And Joyce and Greg, local law enforcement sources now confirming to King 5 they received a memo from the FBI warning them about similar attacks to power stations in the Pacific Northwest, and that the FBI believes these are not related to theft, but rather deliberate attacks on critical infrastructure.
This can have a really, really bad effect on a lot of people.
To protect against power outages, if you see something, say something.
Call the FBI. here in Seattle.
Because even here in Seattle, police are being put on high alert after getting this memo from the FBI saying, in recent attacks, criminal actors bypassed security by cutting the fence links, lighting nearby fires, shooting equipment from a distance, or throwing objects over the fence and onto equipment. As King 5 uncovered, some of those attacks happened within the last couple weeks. One of the largest power providers in the state, PSE, told King 5 they're aware of recent threats on power systems across the country and can confirm they've had 2 incidents occur in late November at 2 different substations. We'll continue digging into what impacts those had, but as far as what might possibly be the motive for attacks on the power grid, we spoke with a journalist who spent years researching and reporting on extremist groups.
The trope of attacking power infrastructure, of hitting the electrical grid, critical infrastructure, is an old tenet of the American extreme right wing.
Residents in Clackamas, Oregon were lucky to leave unscathed and with the lights on after a recent attack of their own.
Early on Thanksgiving morning, we did have an attack on one of our substations in Clackamas, Oregon. It was deliberate. There's no question that somebody meant to do it. Looked like they used something sharp to cut through a fence there that's designed to keep people out.
If you're aware of anyone targeting any kind of infrastructure, call local law enforcement or the FBI in Seattle. Meantime, in North Carolina, power was restored tonight after 4 days in the dark for the tens of thousands of people there affected by those attacks. Reporting in the King 5 newsroom, I'm Maddie White, King 5 News.
Oh, man. Initially, it was said this incident could have been an effort to put a halt to a drag show that was due to take place. Given the current climate around the LGBTQ community, for some, it would seem to be within reason that this could be the case. However, taking into account the recent bulletin from the feds and the corresponding attack, it becomes abundantly clear that there are deeper issues at play. The only question is whether these are foreign or domestic actors. Situations like these expose vulnerabilities in critical infrastructures that certain actors may or may not already be aware of. In reality, these could just be dry runs for something even bigger in the future. Only time will tell.
We've lost too many men. We need to stop them.
Fuck. Come on. Come on. This shit is not as easy as it looks trying to do everything that I'm doing. It looks like I'm just playing a game, but it's deeper than that. Okay, so that was that.
Tonight, 2 entities of the Trump Organization, the Trump Corporation, and the Trump Payroll Corporation
Coming to get you,
found
bro.
guilty of criminal tax fraud, convicted on all 17 counts, including tax fraud, falsifying business records, and conspiracy.
That is consequential. It underscores that in Manhattan, we have one standard of justice for all.
Trump was not charged, and the defense said he did not know, but prosecutors say he signed off on parts of the scheme, initialing memos like this one that prosecutors believe were intended to cheat tax officials. Experts say the verdict could make his second bid for the presidency more challenging. Prosecutors saying in closing arguments that the former president was not blissfully ignorant. Prosecutors said that for 15 years, executives at the Trump org leaned on the company to evade income taxes on rent, private school tuition, and luxury cars, and unveiled tax returns that showed massive losses, including nearly $1 billion in operating losses over a 2-year period while Trump starred on reality TV and as he was campaigning for president. A Trump Organization spokesperson reacted to the guilty verdict, saying the notion that a company could be held responsible for an employee's actions to benefit themselves on their own personal tax returns is simply preposterous.
It will certainly be appealing, of course.
Felony convictions carry fines totaling up to $1.7 million. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Hi.
See, this is how I get caught slipping trying to do everything.
President Biden made sure to point out the theme of this year's holiday decorations at the White House during an event for the Kennedy Center honorees Sunday afternoon.
We the people, the first words of the Constitution, the beating heart of our democracy, the story of our nation that makes America, America.
The president's pointed remarks about the Constitution are in stark contrast to former President Trump's take on the founding document over the weekend, when he suggested on social media the possible termination of parts of the Constitution.
The Constitution is set for a reason, to protect the rights of every American. And so I certainly don't endorse that language or that sentiment.
The suggestion also included throwing out the results of the 2020 election or running the race again. But even his own vice president says claims of fraud are completely false.
Ultimately, there was no evidence of enough fraud to change the outcome in any of those states. But I think it set the table and set into motion what ultimately led to a tragic day on January 6th.
The former president's actions leading up to January 6th will be front and center when the congressional committee investigating that day issues its final report this month.
Donald Trump was a guy who just would not take no for an answer from the American people and set about to overthrow an election.
Trump's suggestion to overturn the 2020 results comes even as he's already declared his candidacy for the 2024 election.
I will support whoever the Republican nominee is.
Trump is also facing potential legal actions over January 6th and his possession of classified federal documents at his Florida home. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
He way over there. Okay. Here we go with the do away with the Constitution talk. You can only expect for things to grow more bizarre and for Buddy to grow more desperate from here. Trying to keep that game face on in face of that criminal investigation. But fear going to jail is most definitely setting in. And give me a second, y'all. I'm trying to do something that I already should have fucking had prepared. Why did I?
Stay sharp and watch each other's backs.
Alright.
Don't mess around. Stay alert.
More questions than answers in Moscow, Idaho. Authorities there now providing conflicting statements on whether the shocking murders of 4 college students there was a targeted attack. Meanwhile, the father of one of the victims gave an emotional account of his daughter's final moments. CBS's Lilia Luciano is there.
Nearly 3 weeks after 4 University of Idaho students were stabbed to death, police still have no suspect, weapon, or motive in the killings of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and his girlfriend, Xana Kernodle. What they have said from the start is this was a targeted attack. Wednesday night, local police released what they called a clarification, saying detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted. Then today, state police told CBS News, we remain consistent in our belief that this was indeed a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residents or the occupants.
See, now it's all starting to make sense. Maybe it wasn't the students who were targeted, but the house. And had they not been in the house, then the house itself would have been butchered, I suppose.
What are you doing here?
Stranger than fiction.